Enzo. Oh, this is probably too long for a voice note.
Hey Claire, I know. Save it for the podcast.
Your space for an unfiltered and candid conversation.
Skip the small talk and dive in deep.
Hey, he's Enzo.
And she's Claire.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Welcome everyone
back
to another episode
It is
of Too Long for a Voice Note.
last episode
The last
of this
episode.
season.
Not forever though. Don't get
The
scared.
last episode of the season.
Of the season. Yeah, we are,
I'm like
of the season. Yeah, as you know, if you follow the podcast,
Yeah.
we're doing like 6 episodes, a break, and 6 more episodes. So you
And
have
a break.
time to break up,
Exactly.
to catch up, to break up, to break up. Or maybe you can have a break up during that episode part as well. Who knows? But
time to catch up,
time
recover. Time to recover.
to recover from all the chitty chatties.
Exactly. So how are you? How's your week?
Yeah, it was good. It's like, I was thinking a lot of we're having like this little break until October, right?
Yes.
It's like, and to start, I was thinking for the question of the week.
I'm drinking a matcha, by the way. I made my first at-home matcha. Let me try it.
Try. Does it taste like grass?
I'm not sure. I think it needs something like a little oomph or something. It's
like
a
honey.
bit fishy. Do you find it a bit fishy? It's a bit
Fishy. It tastes like I have never tried fish food, but it tastes like it smells like fish food. But I think you have to get used to it. It's good just for your health,
Exactly.
Just to start, with our now question of the week.
Go
I was
for it.
thinking, are you having at the moment any ritual that you want to share with the audience? Something that you're doing constantly or regularly in any part of sector of your life?
I really like rituals. I have a few. So in the morning, I will first of all when I wake up, I scrape my tongue.
Oh,
I scrape my tongue with the tongue scraper.
Okay.
You're like,
oh! I've never done that, by the way.
No?
No, I have done it, but not
with the tongue scraper.
And every
So I
time.
scrape my
Maybe you should
tongue,
get one.
and then I make my lemon water with real superfood hormone balance, and also a gut. They have two different powders. I gave you some. Did you?
I tried,
it?
I tried, yeah. Actually, I'm thinking about getting some.
Yeah, it's really,
Actually,
really
I like
nice
it.
stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
So those two mix, I take my supplements, and then I meditate. And if I have a lot of time, then I'll journal. But I 100% always meditate.
How long it takes you for all of this ritual, in the morning ritual?
Half an hour.
Okay, that's good.
Because I only meditate for 10 minutes.
It doesn't take you a lot of time.
No.
That's good.
And then I go in the shower, then I'll have the coffee a bit later because I'm trying to delay the coffee a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's one ritual. Or that's a morning ritual that I have.
That's really good, yeah.
I'm like, another one. That's probably about it.
That's really good. That's it. How many fucking rituals I need to work after that? That's really good. I like it because it was very sweet and short and sweet, like Sabrina's Carpenter new album.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think
nice.
I really like rituals. I think it's a good thing to.
Good one. I want to incorporate more of those in my life. I want to start scraping my tongue now in the morning.
Honestly, because you wake up with loads of
and bacteria.
So what's your topic this week?
So my topic this
Final
week.
topic of the season.
Final topic. I hope it does justice. I think this topic you'll be maybe probably a bit connected to it for a reason. And I want to talk about the Japanese secret to live a long life.
Oh, I love that. How cute.
It's called IKIGAI.
IKIGAI.
Yeah. Maybe you have heard about this.
IKIGAI.
It's like IKIGAI. So it's the secret to live a really long life. So I find a really interesting that, and I feel like you feel connected because you went recently to Japan. So you have that energy with you, Claire, living a long life. I think I heard about this on social media once, and you always hear about how Japanese people are really good of preserving their life until really late.
Yeah.
And then a month ago, maybe I wanted to watch something on Netflix, and they have this show that's called
Blue Zones.
Live 200, Blue Zones, whatever, right? Yeah. So I start I think it's Live 200, the Blue Zones.
With that guy, Dan something. Something.
It's on Netflix. Yeah. And I started watching it. I watched the first 2 episodes up until now. It's the first one is Japan, the second one is in Italy. Basically, this guy is in a quest to go to all these places in the world where people are living longer, and find the reasons why. Right.
Yeah.
So basically, the first episode is Japan because they're very known for that, and they talk a lot about the ikigai, which I think is like a really interesting concept. I just wanted to delve and
dig deep
on this. Japan is ranked as the second in the world for life expectancy, with women expected to live 88.09 years, so almost 89, and men expected to live almost 82 years. While it's true that obviously diet plays a big role on this, many Japanese people believe like ikigai has a lot to do with their longevity and living a really long, happy life. Just to get more into this, like ikigai is two words combined. Iki means life and gai means purpose. So basically it's life purpose. And basically it refers to having a reason to get up in the morning and to achieve, and kind of like achieving like and finding a purpose to live, like a true purpose to live, right? So what I found interesting about this is like how this has come into the Western world and how we'll incorporate it in different ways, right? And when I was researching a bit more about the topic, it's like how having like an ikigai has become part of like work life, and how companies, they adapt this kind of like vision of life to their the way they do business, for example, like people behave at work, or also like it's very popular between like within like life coaches and things like that. So really found very interesting like this, like long life, it's really based on having a purpose. So just to start with this, what do you think about that? What purpose and like long life? And
I really like this theory, and I think it's something that I could speak about what I noticed in Japan a little bit from like a short time there.
Sure.
But I think that I have seen that show on Netflix. So I think I have seen it. Yeah. So I think that it was interesting to see that this guy obviously finds like correlations between all of these very different places in the world. I think in Japan, one thing that I noticed is that most people seem to have like a very clear purpose, and there's a lot of, in general, in the society, I noticed like a lot of reason for doing something. I think there's not much that's like left without a purpose, if that makes sense. Like I think every object felt like it had a purpose, and everything had a reason or a meaning or something like that. I think that's something that I definitely noticed. But I think having a purpose is like one of the most important things I think that we can do in our lives in general.
What do you think is one thing that you do that you really find that you do without a purpose? Like we were speaking earlier before, like about your routine in the morning, like your ritual, like apart from that or something like that you think you do with purpose, what would be like
that gives me purpose? Or I do,
or maybe you do mindfully because you think about it, you reflect on it, and you think like it will have a positive impact on you. It's not like something you just do like presently.
I will say editing is something that I think I have quite a lot of purpose with, because I find it quite, one of the reasons why I love editing is like editing videos. It's like that's my job. It's not all the time, of course, especially when you start to like do your passion as a career. But I find it quite relaxing editing, because I find that you can like get all of the different pieces together and make them into something else.
Like a puzzle.
It's a puzzle. For me, it's a puzzle. And and I think it's a challenge as well, sometimes, to like tell a story in like a very concise way. And I think that because I find like quite a lot of like my like perfectionist tendencies come out with editing.
It's a perfect place to kind of like
I feel that I do that with a lot of purpose, and I think that as I've gotten stronger as an editor, I think I found more reason for including or cutting something. So I think I'm quite mindful with my editing.
It's very like very connected to mindfulness actually.
How about you? What would be something for you?
I think definitely when you have like a creative career or like a passion that really it's a bit, let's say, a bit easier to have a purpose, right? Like I'm a photographer, so obviously like when I'm in the zone taking my photos, it's like it's a bubble. I don't think about anything else, and I do that very purposefully. And then it comes to the part of editing the photos as well. It connects with what you're saying. It's kind of like you think about more the story, so it's kind of like all the things you need to do to like get to the actually what you want. So definitely something that's purpose. True. There's a book that actually I'm curious to read. It's a really popular book. It's a Japanese book called The Japanese Secret of a Long Life by, here we go with names of authors, but these ones are easy. The authors are Hector Garcia, and well, this was not that easy, and Francesc Miralles. Hopefully that's how it's called, the name, that's how you say it. So basically it's almost like a case study of like residents of Otami, which is a small village in Okinawa. They live in like this really long purposeful life, right? In this book they basically conclude that there's like 10 rules to kind of achieve this, and I think it's really interesting to kind of go through them and like talk a bit about them. Sure. And this is kind of like the interesting thing about it is like really you can apply this for any like aspect of your life. So you know, that's why it became also like a big thing in the Western culture for us, and like, you know, work and things like that, because it's really like applicable to many scenarios. So these 10 rules, the first one is stay active, don't retire, which is a very interesting thing, and it's part of the documentary as well. How all these people that literally, it's like you're retired from your main job, that could be your office job or whatever, but then you never retire for like keep doing things, which is like a big
being active, right? And keeping having a purpose, I think, and feeling like you're kind of like, I hate to say this phrase because I think it's really capitalist, but like a valued member of society. I think that's important for us in a way to have purpose,
which in the documentary is really palpable, because like they're very visible, like how they all have roles in society. Like some of them they were gardeners, some of them they were taking care of the flowers, some of them they were taking care of the other things. Also, I think that's easier to have when you live in a society like Japanese. Probably they're very like about community, right?
I think
about
so.
Being together. So I found that like really interesting. That makes me think a lot about like my like a personal experience with my grandfather, that he always had like a really purpose life, and like he was very artistic as well. So you know, he always has like goals, and when he lived until he was 89, he was
so good.
He was really healthy, to be honest, for his age, and like he always had like something to build, something to create, something to paint, or if it was when Christmas was coming, he had from September he was already building the houses that will go to the nativity school,
like the manger, basically,
all of that. Or like if it's about cooking, he was from Friday he was already planning the lunch for Sunday, or he was during the week he was like experimenting with new recipes. So he always have like a goal. Like every single week of his life, you'll never see him like without doing something.
So important,
and
isn't that?
He was so vibrant and so like, and I'm telling you, he didn't have like, in this case, he didn't have like the most healthy life, because he smoked a lot. Really? He smoked when he was like 12.
Really?
And he ate like a very Mediterranean diet, but he was not fan of eating like fish, or he was not fan of eating like something. He was a lot of pasta and like meat. So, you know, you wouldn't think it's what you would think is the obvious of a most healthy diet, but still he has so much purpose in life that I think like that's a really good like.
Definitely,
I think I always
a really
like
good example
of that, right? And he was really like a lot of purpose.
Because I think you need a reason to get up in the morning, and I think that unfortunately often, you know, work gives you that throughout your whole adult life, through your whole school life, throughout your childhood at school, and then it becomes work, and then retirement. It's sort of like, I think it can be a really tricky time if you're not somebody who has a lot of hobbies like your granddad, and you know, I think it's really important to find those,
it's kind of like
things.
If you don't have things to look forward, I guess it kind of strips you down from like living life in a way, right?
And it's about keeping your mind fresh.
Number 2 is take it slow, as we know. Don't be in a hurry, walk slowly, do things slowly, blah blah blah. You know, this is really hard for our generation, I think, and for if you live in a city like London or a big city, like taking it slow. Like I think personally we're really bad at that.
I definitely don't take it. No, neither of us do, I think.
No. And it's like
that's hard.
That's hard one.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I think this thing you need to apply to your life as much as you can within your reality, because everything adds up, you know.
That's a good tip.
Maybe like if you're at work, doesn't mean that you need to do it slow, but sometimes take a time to breathe and don't oversaturate yourself with work. You know, like
I think
you can apply
finding
bits and
pockets of time to maybe be slow.
Because it has to be also applicable to your life.
Totally.
You know? We don't all live in a beautiful island in Japan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that, but good tips, obviously. So there's a third one is really interesting about don't fill your stomach. So basically,
I love this one.
Right?
The 80% rule.
The 80%
I love
rule.
this.
That's very interesting because,
Yeah.
like, they should eat until you feel like 80%
Yeah.
full, right?
So you basically, there's a word for it. Have you got the word for it? It's called like
I think I don't
something.
have it here.
Anyway, there's a specific term for this. It's super Japanese, and it means only eating to 80% of your capacity of being full. So I don't know about Wenzo. I would say we're probably quite similar. I definitely didn't until I learned about this. I would eat at like 100, 110%, and be like, I'm full. And then I learned about that, and I was like, that's so elegant.
It's very demure.
I'm gonna like
Very demure.
And so now I always say to Jorge, I'm 80%. I'm at 80%.
I love it. Does Jorge eat as well? The 80% is
no.
like, fuck
Jorge's
that.
like 110%.
Yeah, me too, you know. What's next? Surround yourself with good friends. So yeah, basically like that's one of the, and again going back to what we were talking before about like how Japanese is very like community driven, about being with people and like all people that get together, blah blah blah. This is really based on that, and how like basically friends are the best medicine, and there's nothing better than have a good chat and talk with someone that you love and someone you connect. So it's really beautiful because, and again, that's why a lot of like, you know, when people get older, they start to having less and less friends because maybe they're starting to die, or maybe they're just very isolated in the house and things like that. So I think that's why it's so important to have that as well when you get older.
That comes earlier, you know, because I feel like maybe what happens is that you have really good friends. I mean, once again, I think like everything is quite personality based, but like you have a lot of friends at school, then maybe in your 20s and 30s, maybe in a heteronormative situation, you might get married and have kids and have a family, and that's when I think people can step away from having friends, and then you're kind of still fine in your 40s, and then before you know it, do you know what I mean? Like,
you're right. I think a lot of people when they start growing their families, they step away from the friends, which are also they have. I feel like your friends has to be part of your family.
Definitely.
Even if you have like, let's say, an official family, like you're married, you have kids, so you have dogs, whatever. You need to still have your friends.
Totally.
Like number 5 is getting in shape. Number 6 is smile. By the way, this is the getting in shape. They have this thing. It's like getting in shape for your next birthday. So it's kind of like a goal. Like always thinking like, oh, I need to be in shape for my next birthday.
That's so cute.
So that kind of makes you think like, oh, you need to obviously keep staying in shape. So in your next birthday, you're gonna be in shape. Then number 6 is smile, of course. Then number 7 is reconnect with nature, which I think is really like a really good important. One, very important, especially living in cities like that. Cities like this, it's like a big city. It's really difficult to reconnect with nature, and they have this whole thing, which is actually another Japanese really famous concept. It's like the forest bathing. Yeah. Which is you go to the forest and you walk, you absorb the fresh air, blah, 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 blah. And it's something that should be really part of our life.
So nice.
So then number 8 is give thanks, which is like being like, actually, obviously it's a bit more spiritual to just being thankful, but it's very like giving being appreciative of your ancestors, the people who were before you, praying, the people you have right now in your life, because, and also there's a way of meditation as well. Totally, very like thinking and like
it's gratitude as well.
Totally gratitude in a really, but in a real way, not just like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for my life. No, it's just like why you're thankful for and what does that mean for you, right? Number 9, obviously, live in the moment, which is obviously we need to be present and all of that. And number 10 is follow your ikigai. Actually, the rule number 10 is actually following your ikigai. And the tricky thing about this is like, if your ikigai is your purpose, that means that you need to follow and go after your purpose. And this is very like interesting one, because I think a lot of people, it's very common people to live without purpose. They just go through life just like, they have their jobs, they have the family, and they go to that before having like something like a hobby that can be the purpose, right? So that could be one of the most important rules. Can I be like, can I have the guts to follow that kind of thing, right?
Love that.
As one of the most important things, like kind of like follow your passion, follow your dreams, follow your ikigai, right? But I think sometimes a lot of people, they need to discover it. And I just wonder how happened to you? How do you discover your ikigai? Or that moment that you say like, oh, this is my thing, like this is what gives you purpose. How that happened? I
think if I had to like put my ikigai in like a nutshell, I think it would be like being creative or creating in general. That's my purpose. And I think that that's taken different shapes for me throughout my life. I think it's really hard to talk about this without being quite cringe and pretentious in a way, but like, here we are, seeing as you asked. I think I always felt like a creativity inside of me. Like I always when I was little was like always drawing, or like then I was really into taking pictures, and then I was always forcing like Wince, like our friend, to like do dance routines with me. Like I always was expressing myself and creating. Then I discovered acting, which felt like my ikigai or my purpose for a really long time. And then that changed, and then I found like filmmaking and editing and all of that, and that feels like the right thing for me to be doing now. So to answer your question, I think it's taken different forms, and I think that I always feel in moments when I felt my most depressed, I haven't been creating. Like when I had a year that was very hard for many different reasons, but one of the hardest reasons was that I was doing a job that was completely uncreative, and I felt so far from yourself, my purpose. And I think that's I don't know about you, but I think a really hard feeling for me is knowing that there's something I should be doing that I'm not doing, that I can't do, or I'm not doing it for some reason. So I think I've always kind of known it, but it shifted for me, would be my answer.
That makes sense. I really like what you say about like there's like different forms of it with during your life, and probably will keep changing. Because one thing when I was reading about this is like your ikigai is not like a God sent thing necessarily. It's not like this big thing that is up on you and it has to be so. It could be so many different things. It could be things that are changing through your life. It could be one thing that always changes shape as well. So I think it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like putting pieces together of what your purpose is. Sometimes it could be more than one thing. Sometimes it could be just one thing. Sometimes they can have so much diversity, which is like, I guess it's reflected on hobbies or things that we like.
What about you? What would be your ikigai?
I think when you were talking, I was very, very like connected to your words, Claire, because I think it's just also like being creative and expressive, and I think that's something that I always had through my life. And I remember like, I don't know, seeing my uncle that is very like creative, and like he's like photography, and like he likes collage, and he's like a musician, and he paints. And since I was such like a small kid, I felt so attracted to that, and that was like I always was so like, oh my god, that's so cool. And a lot of my grandfather is like, it's just like a paints and creates, is always like curious and doing new things. I think that really, since I was a small kid, I felt that was something that I was gravitating to. So clearly it's also about
I think creation. It was in you as well, and
it changed obviously through time in different ways, and it keeps changing, it keeps evolving into new things. The cool thing about this concept is not something I don't want anyone to think. No, it's like the point of it is not like you need to have this I don't know, this blessing or this gift or something. Like ikigai is something that you discover through your life, you discover at any time. It's not like a God sent, as we talked before, like maybe passion or like gift. It could be it could be much more than that. And there's also ways to find your ikigai. Other people in any point in their life, they haven't found it. They just in this, and they need to work a bit towards it,
so
which is totally fine.
Find it? What can
so
you
we
do?
have like 3 steps to discovering your ikigai.
Okay.
So there's a few questions that you can this is a bit long, so I won't say all the questions you have. So I will put the link below, because actually it's like, I don't know, like 20 questions.
Okay.
It depends if you reply yes or no, blah, 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 blah. But some of the questions, or the main ones, is like to find what's your ikigai. So you have 1, it's like, what do you love? Number 2, what you're good at. Number 3, what does the world need, which is very, very interesting. And 4, what can you be paid for? So that's kind of like the 4 main categories to find your ikigai in a practical way. And all of these categories, they have more and more questions. It's kind of like, what's the world need? Is, for example, the world needs like more content creation. It's like, okay, yes, but in which way I can do it to kind of like, it will give me money. And because the thing is, like, purpose also needs to have a feedback, right? You need to get purpose. Sometimes if you don't get from, if it's just screaming to a wall, you know what I mean? If it's just an empty wall, it can be very frustrating.
Okay, so is the ikigai about a career? Is it kind of...
It could be a career.
Or it could just be a hobby.
Like Ikigai could be a career, it could be a hobby, it could be many different things.
Okay.
And that's like that's the beauty of it.
The beauty of it.
The first step is asking all these 4 questions, was like, what you love, what you're good at, what the world need, and what you get paid for. Then the number 2 is like brainstorm to find your ikigai, which is the whole process of like, what do you like, what do you love, blah blah blah, which is like very interesting. If you haven't found, I think for us it's a bit more straightforward because we know already like our purpose. We know what our ikigai is. So for us it's like brainstorming would be more like what other shapes of that could be. You know, but if you don't have it, there's like also that explains really well in this like website how to achieve that. And the number 3 will be a study to find your ikigai. As everything, like if it's a hobby and it's something that you want to develop on, you need to like study, you need to invest time. And I think that's a really interesting thing because don't you feel like sometimes maybe people, they don't have enough hobbies or things because they are, I don't know if lazy, but maybe they're afraid to expose themselves to learn something new, for example. I think
so. I think there's definitely an element of that, or like losing that kind of playfulness that I think you need to like have that, throwing yourself into a new hobby or, trying something new or trying something creative. Or I think that I also feel like people can get really distracted by like the wrong thing. I mean, not to say, who am I to say what's right or wrong, but like I think people like chase like their career or money or a relationship, or maybe that's people's ikigai in a way. But do you know what I mean? It's like chasing something that is more
external than internal. So instead of something that kind of like you feel totally connected with it, you find it like through other external
because
things,
don't
like
you find
other people, money, or like
like I don't know what you think, and I don't want to like throw anyone specific under the bus, but don't you find when you speak to people like at work, for example, and you're like, oh, what are you doing tonight? They're like, no, nothing, I'm just going home. Do you find that a lot? And I'm always like, I don't mean to sound like, oh my god, you're so like, but I'm always surprised because I think at least like you're like, I would go to the gym or go to a yoga class, or like I'll be like, oh, I'm editing the podcast, or I don't know, I just think, and that always kind of surprises me, but that's I find that is often quite the norm. You know?
But that makes total sense, because the thing is like to embrace your purpose or your ikigai, you know, whatever way you want to call it, you need to have courage as well. Like not obviously not always like if your ikigai, I don't know, it's like taking care of plants, maybe you don't need like courage to, you know what I mean? It depends on what it is, of course. But a lot of time when you have something that is your purpose, you need to have like courage, and you need to have determination, and you need to have like focus. It's, well, to be honest, even if you want to take care of your garden every single day, that needs a lot of determination, that needs a lot of focus, that needs a lot of energy. And some people can't be bothered to have it because it's like it's, and I understand, and that's why that's so difficult maybe in our modern times. Well, that's basically like the steps.
That's it.
As simple as that. If you don't have an ikigai, that's how you do it. It's like really easy, guys. But yeah, kind of to wrap up this, one little interesting thing about this is like how, and what we just mentioned now, like how like you need to also like embrace your ikigai, and you need to embrace your purpose. You need to embrace that whatever it is. If you don't fully embrace it, it's gonna happen what you're saying, right? Like you're not putting enough effort to do something else. You get stuck in like not having purpose, which it will affect your life in the future, because then you're gonna be like a sad, bored person. So so there's some steps for doing that. So it's kind of, we got the first step, which is to create a small goals. So start from small, start from little things. Depends on what you want. You don't need to do everything in one go.
I think it's making me think about how I think that maybe we prioritize work too much as well, which obviously in Japan they have a crazy work culture. It's not to say that they don't, of course they do, but but I think that I think it's so important to find something outside of work, which is an interesting position for us because our jobs are our ikigai in a way, if we're saying that we've been able to make it. But I think that there's still, pockets of areas where you can like just be creative for the sake of it, and I can just be creating for the sake of it as well, not for work necessarily. And I think that's quite important.
I think for us the podcast is our ikigai.
I think so too. How cute.
I think it's very our ikigai.
I think so too.
And it's been for a while, but it's a place of like purpose, because I think having a project like this, not to make this about us, but it requires a lot of like focus and plan, effort, things, and like being present is like it's a lot
very,
of
very true.
And also like it's not a community. I mean, it's a community with everyone
with
is listening with you
yeah,
guys, but it's also between us.
Like doing exactly. It's us, Ambriola,
and Jenny.
And but yeah, it's exactly.
So whatever it is, you think that could be your ikigai. If it's, I don't know, baking, so you can just do all these things, including testing out and see how it works for you.
That's so cute.
So I think it's like a really like practical. Some of these things that seem very obvious, but actually when you think about them, those little obvious things that actually make it happen. It's like sometimes I feel like it's a bit too philosophical, but a lot of the most obvious things are the ones that actually help us to go. It's like having routines. It's like that's so fucking obvious. People say like you need to have a routine, but actually you realize when you have a routine. It's like
exercise and drink more water. It's like, well, obviously, but not. It's what we need to do basically. So
I think like that's I don't know. I found that this very fascinating. And I'm curious to read the book. I think it's like a really nice. Probably would be a good reading because I think like I'm really like keen to have if I reach to have a very old person, I will really like to have like a purpose.
Definitely, I think you'll be like a vibrant old person.
That's what
you'll be like out and about at the art gallery.
I will be like I want to be an eccentric 80 years old.
Exactly, you'll be doing a little project,
and I'll be this is my new exhibition. I'm gonna be like wearing like weird stuff, and you're gonna be like, oh.
Speaking of wearing stuff.
Yeah. Well,
matching. True. We didn't even address
actually this isn't planned. This is not planned actually.
It was not planned.
It's funny when I came out with a t-shirt you were like what the fuck,
oh my god, the Mahmood t-shirt.
So Mahmood, if you're listening or watching it, please,
oh my god, Alessandra well, thank you very much for the topic. That was very interesting. I think I'm gonna retake the quiz, and then maybe I'm gonna find a new ikigai.
And there's like a quiz, and there's another. I found actually two, and the other one is like it's like a 20 minutes quiz as well, and actually help because it's kind of like a holistic ikigai.
I wonder if we have like a really different ikigai, like maybe yours
because you can have like a personality test, like a quiz exactly.
Maybe yours is like hairdressing or something.
Maybe actually, I think I'm keen to explore new ikigais. It's you,
I think it would be cool, right? To like discover like new things.
What's gonna be out of that? I wonder.
Who knows?
It's gonna be like something like break dancing,
like shuffling.
We're like, okay, wow. You never know, guys. So I think like thank you for joining for this conversation. I hope like in this like a month of peace from us, you find your ikigai.
Definitely. And please catch up on the previous episodes. We're going to be active as always on all of the socials. And thank you so much for listening, each and every one of you. It means the world to us. So thank you.
Thank you for feeding our ikigai and keep it alive. Thank you,
little hearts.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See ya.